ones actually follow us. Okay, so I'm going to hand you over to Johannes. He's going to start. Okay, and I'll rush out of there.
Thank you, Annie. Thank you so much, everyone. Are we good live? So thank you for being here live, and everyone that is listening to live stream. We have quite a lot of people listening live stream from all over the world, which is exciting. So welcome. Thank you for being here. And as Annie was saying, this is the first prescription lifestyle medicine live forum. And there's a clear intention that we have, which is to bring lifestyle medicine to the forefront, to bring it into people's awareness. Because from my perspective, this is the future. That's where we have to go. So it's meant to be a forum where we share. Actually, let me ask you quickly, who is somehow in healthcare, a healthcare professional? Oh my God, almost everybody. Perfect. Yes, that is what we wanted. And come here, join. It's a place to meet and also to grow awareness. And that is really what we want to do. We probably come back more often here, or internationally we have different events. And what it's really about is this, right? Where in most of our consciousness is that, well, we treat symptoms, right? That's probably what, I don't know, 90% of us out there, people out there, that's what we work on or think about. But, you know, it's like we're mopping up the floor continuously. Somebody comes to us and then, you know, we do symptom treatment and forget to look at the root cause. Whoops, what did I do? There we go, wrong button. So instead of mopping up the floor, we look, well, where's the water overflowing, right? And we turn off the faucet and the body regenerates. That's the idea, that's the concept in a way for lifestyle medicine, to really look at the auto-regulation of our body. And so let me, before Dr. Rob Lawson comes and speaks, I'd like to just have a very short explanation of what lifestyle medicine is, what the research is, and then we go deeper as we go along. So you know, there's a lifestyle medicine summit coming up in June. And so I have the pleasure to interview a lot of great speakers, authorities all over the world, and also talking to politicians and people that are stakeholders in this industry. And they kind of all know that something needs to change and improve. The question is how, what, and how are we doing this? And so that's, I think these kind of events bring people together and we explore, and hopefully NHS, or in the US, the healthcare system in every country starts to be more open. Because my vision is that slowly, hopefully fast, this lifestyle medicine concept flows into traditional medicine and enhances it. We're still going to have disease management, symptom treatment. That's all. We need that. Absolutely. But we need to expand on this. Research. Well, first, I thought I'm going to show you a lot of research, research that has been done. But then I said, wait, you know what? Who has online? Everybody's online these days, right? So we can just look it up. You know, on our website, lifestyleprescriptions.org, there's a research tab, and there's some of the main research that has been done. is on there. So I'm not going to talk so much about the actual research, because I think we are beyond that stage, really. I talked to Dr. Katz, and he has a nice quote afterwards, and he was saying, he's like one of the main lifestyle medicine experts in the US, and he's saying, we know that for 20 years now, and over the last 20 years, so much research has been done in lifestyle medicine, into the root cause of the chronic health issues, non-communicable diseases, right, as it's called, that the science is clear. So if anyone wants to look at the science, go to the website. There is greenmedinfo.com. There's a lot of great websites now that show the science is there. I think the big question for me and for all of us is, how do we apply it? How do we integrate it? How do we motivate people to actually change? Let me ask you, when you have a health issue or you want to change something in your life that you know would be good for you, how easy is it for you? Hard, right? Change is hard.
But possible.
But possible, exactly. And if we have a system that supports us in making these changes, then it's even easier. If more people do it, right? You have this like spiral. More and more people talk about it, say, hey, I quit smoking. I don't drink soda anymore. I sleep. And all these things start to become much easier for all of us. So it's part of changing consciousness, changing awareness. Now, this is a very bold statement, and I read it for the online. It says, lifestyle as medicine has the potential to prevent up to 80% of chronic disease. No other medicine can match that. In addition, it's potentially inexpensive and even cost savings, free of all but good side effects. Safe and appropriate for children, octogenarians alike. It is quite simply the best medicine we've got. Now, this is Dr. Katz, and it's a pretty bold statement, right? Who does agree with that? Oh, that's interesting. But the research shows that. I'm sure Dr. Lawson, and afterwards we dive more into this, but I want to get your attention. Because if it's really possible that by individually or as a society we change our lifestyle, the key factors, the key root causes, can we reverse the majority, if it's 80% or less, whatever it is, can we change a lot of the chronic health issues for ourselves or for our clients? Okay, something to think about, right? So quickly about the Lifestyle Prescriptions Foundation. We are a nonprofit. It's centered in the US, but we're kind of a virtual company. We're kind of all over the place, but the company is originally in the US. It started 2008 with the National Yoga Month. I don't know, is anybody into yoga? Oh, great. Love it. So you probably heard of National Yoga Month. I hope you did. If not, probably should. It's running since 2008. In the US, it's a national observance, like Breast Cancer Month. It's National Yoga Month, right, since 2008. And so every September, there are events going on, free yoga classes as part of National Yoga Month. And we created it in 2007-08 because there wasn't as much awareness about yoga, and it's so nice to see it's growing, more and more people use it. So that's one of our campaigns that is still going. And the new one, which is starting, is the Lifestyle Prescription or Lifestyle Medicine Awareness Campaign, which is really about inspiring health professionals to bring lifestyle medicine and root cause-based lifestyle medicine into healthcare practices. And this is part of the event, this is part of the campaign and the Lifestyle Medicine Summit in June, coming up in June. So I hope you all join and spread the word and get the word out. So that's from my side to start with, kind of an introduction. We set the stage for this. And I think I'd like to introduce now Dr. Rob Lawson. And, well, where do I start? Basically, Rob Lawson, he was for 30 years, I believe, a GP in Edinburgh. And for a long, long time, I think also for 20, 30 years at least, into lifestyle medicine, has 2 clinics in Edinburgh. And one of the main leaders here in the UK focusing on lifestyle medicine and trying to bring it into NHS and really raise awareness, and currently also the chair of the British Society of Lifestyle Medicine, which is just forming and getting really growing here in the UK. So I'm so glad you're here, that you could make it. I know it's, as Annie was saying, it's a long trip that you had from Edinburgh. Not really, right? And so thank you so much, and give him a warm round of applause, please. Okay? You need both. Yeah, you need both. Just 1 second, we just switched the mic so for online.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. I would normally just present, but to be different this time, I've actually brought some notes with me, so I shall be reading. But the reason is that I suffer mild cognitive impairment, but it's put me in front of an audience and it's suddenly severe. And I get to the end of the presentation and said, hang on a minute, I've forgotten half the stuff I was supposed to say. But it's great coming down to London. It's great coming down to London. I've come down with my wife, and we're staying in a hotel in Shepherd's Bush, and we walk through Notting Hill and Camden Hill, and the camellias are out and the blossoms out and the sun's shining, you know, and my wife disappeared into what's it called, a redesign shop or something. Well, she will be seeing that as well. But I was standing outside the shop. Why would I go into a redesign shop? And just observing humanity. And the door suddenly opened behind me and someone shot out. I looked around, there's a rather small door, and it had 3 flats. And the top flat was roof garden, and then the middle flat was penthouse, and the bottom flat was ocean view. That's obviously, there's a lot of sense of humor around. Now, this is what the plan was to be, that I'd start with a story and finish with a song. I won't be singing, but hopefully the magic of technology here will get it going. It's always good to have a little bit of music around. And in between, please fall asleep if you want to. But the main thing at the start, I just wanted to give you a story. I'm not here, as you'll see, because of my presentation skills. It's because I'm chairman of the British Society of Lifestyle Medicine, which is only just getting going. But it's important nonetheless. And the breadth and power of lifestyle medicine is not widely understood, but I hope we can make a difference to our nation's health in due course. So for this mainly visual presentation, I'd like to acknowledge, and I'm sorry for people online, I'd like to acknowledge at the outset the influence of Professor Gary Egger, Professor of Health Science at Southern Cross University in New South Wales. He's recognised as a world authority on obesity and is one of the founding fathers of lifestyle medicine as we know it, and I'm pleased to count him as a friend. So here we are. The story. A gentleman came to see me in the surgery, age 50. I hadn't met him before. He came with something fairly trivial, but I had actually looked at the computer, as well as have to do nowadays, and noticed he was getting treatment for a neuroendocrine tumor. He'd had chemotherapy, and he had huge liver metastases. He came for something unrelated, but I took the trouble to ask him, you know, how he was and how he was coping. And he didn't say anything. He just looked very pale and ill and went home. And the next thing, I got a phone call saying, I want you to be my doctor. And I'm thinking, you know, you're in the practice, it's okay. You know, you don't have to say you want me to be doctor. He said, no, I want you to be my doctor, and I'm phoning my specialist. So not long afterwards, I had a phone call from the specialist, an oncologist, who said, I've been in touch with your patient, and I'm afraid there's nothing more we can do for him. He'll be dead in about 6 weeks. So subsequent to that, he contacted me and said, could you come and visit me, please? So I did. And as I went in the door, it was fairly obvious that with an 8-year-old daughter opening the door, that he wasn't going to be in a good place. And very quickly then, after I started talking to him, I realized he was nowhere near thinking or contemplating of death. That wasn't an option. So we sat down and worked out a plan. The plan partly was me going away and doing a little bit of research for him overnight. And the next day, he took all this research to his oncologist and said, I want to try this. Well, to give her credit, the oncologist didn't try, I don't think, what I'd researched, but she looked at other options. So he had chemotherapy, more chemotherapy. 5 years later, in 2015, conventional chemotherapy, albeit by banging on the table with the oncologist, knowledge of foods to fight cancer, regular physical activity, and the loving support of his family. So the challenge we face is not only to prevent disease in the first place, but to manage it effectively, which means holistically. So this is lifestyle medicine at work, and healthy longevity is its goal. Now, R.D. Laing was a colourful Scottish psychiatrist. I thought Tamsin Lewis was going to be here today. She's a psychiatrist. Are there any psychiatrists in the room? No. Anyway, he didn't believe in pharmacotherapy. He left Scotland and came to London. He enjoyed recreational drugs. Drugs were off limits. He himself died of a heart attack while playing tennis, aged 61, I think, in Saint-Tropez. But he was a heavy drinker. The third line, an inevitable intermittent morbidity, I really just want to quibble with. We really need to change our mindset about this. I don't think we should accept it. That aging equals inevitable morbidity. It doesn't. And the danger is getting into the mindset where we think, well, actually the NHS is going to be, in this country, is going to be overwhelmed because of an aging population. Well, actually, maybe if we try harder to keep people well, it won't be overwhelmed. So what's hitting our way? Here's some context. Now, if you look at the two white arrows on this slide, they're quite scary. For the first time, we're facing a rise globally in both acute infections and in chronic diseases, which are also called non-communicable diseases or long-term diseases. So we've already passed the epidemiological crossover point in this country, where the two lines cross, and developing countries are fast approaching it. So why should we be concerned? Here we have a red solid line, which represents life expectancy in UK men, and the intermittent red line, which represents healthy life expectancy. Both, in fact, are reducing. The latest figure in Scotland demonstrates that both girls and boys born in 2015 will have a lesser healthy life expectancy than their parents. And as a grandparent, I take that personally. For the first time since records began. And incidentally, obesity itself costs the Scottish economy £2.3 billion per year. It's £16 billion in the UK. And £4.2 billion is a cost to the NHS of just obesity alone. And 40% of the population will be classed as obese by 2030. So what kind of legacy is this to leave our children? When I qualified in 1975, the following year, Ivan Illich gave us this quote. Move on 25 years, and Welsh et al. Had this to say. Now, it means that basically throughout my life, I've been contributing to making everyone sick. And that is definitely not why I went into medicine. So something has gone wrong. Something, as you were saying, has to change. From the year dot, it was infection. It was infection that was the killer. For the reasons that we saw earlier, poor hygiene, poor sanitation, lack of access to clean water, poor public health, and of course microorganisms. But things are changing. We have other problems now. So how might lifestyle medicine help avoid this tsunami wave of chronic disease heading our way? Mainly, I would suggest, by a better understanding of the causes. BSLM is a member of this Global Lifestyle Medicine Association, and here is the official, slightly different, but saying the same thing, their definition anyway. And the other definition, which was very succinctly shown us by Johannes, we don't use the word faucet in this country, we call it a tap. So we're dealing with a leaking tap while everyone else is trying to mop up. And I think that people understand that. And it's a lot easier than trying to explain what you're seeing on the screen. So these are the components of lifestyle medicine: knowledge, skills, tools, and procedures. Today, you'll be pleased to hear we're about to skim pictorially over the determinants of chronic disease. That's at the top, the knowledge bit, starting with an explanation of the drivers of modern disease and where lifestyle medicine fits into the process. So here we are, we've got the diseases, we've got the risk factors and markers, and most people will recognize them. We've got downstream determinants, or proximal determinants of this. They're the cause. Then you've got the medial determinants. Again, you'll recognize a lot of them. That's the cause of the cause. And finally, distally, upstream determinants, the cause of the cause of the cause. So we've got conventional medicine at one end of that, dealing with risk factors and disease. Then we've got lifestyle medicine and public health at the end. And it looks as if lifestyle medicine is sort of straddling the two ends. But I would say that as a medic, that really we're dealing with all of those, or certainly should be. But we don't. We get focused at the right end of that slide. So the principal thing to note then is that lifestyle medicine is about recognizing the upstream causes of most of the 21st century chronic diseases. We can then focus on preventing and managing disease accordingly. Whereas nutrition and activity constitute the penicillin of lifestyle medicine, psychology and behavioral change represent the surgery of lifestyle medicine. You'll note that obesity is characterized not as a disease, but as a marker, and the canary in the coal mine, as Prof. Egger calls it. I don't also like the idea of having hypertension thought of as a disease. It is also a symptom. However, question is there a chronic disease germ that might be behind all of this? Well, it was Leeuwen Hoek in 1673, while using a homemade microscope, that he discovered red blood cells and microscopic living creatures. The scientific community promptly ignored him. It was 166 years later that the involvement of these living creatures in putrefaction was finally accepted, and we moved on to accept the germ theory of infectious diseases. Things don't move very quickly in science. Indeed, Max Planck famously said that science advanced only at the rate of one funeral at a time. Meanwhile, in 2006, Hotta Muschlegel in Harvard discovered the process of metabolic inflammation, the slow burn of oxidative stress and chronic inflammation causing dysmetabolism, allostasis due to lifestyle and environmental inducers. Now, Prof. Egger has called these inducers anthropogens. These are man-made, and therefore, if they're man-made, by definition, they can be man-unmade. He also coined the term obesogenic, which we all use nowadays. But I think it'll be a while before everybody's talking about anthropogenic. So how does lifestyle medicine differ from conventional medicine? This and the next slide illustrate some of the differences, and I've highlighted a number of them. Treating the lifestyle cause is the first, then the question of where responsibility lies. It seems to me that currently the typical consultation is governed by fear. The clinician fears litigation if something is missed, and the patient is fearful of the unknown. Now, honest engagement with our patient and shared decision making is key. This slide is to emphasize behavioral modification and teamwork. We have been working in silos too long. It's not good for us, and it's not good for our patients. One of the tools of lifestyle medicine is the shared medical appointment, which gets health providers out of their silos and into a bright new world together and engaged. People actually find it fun, and fun is coming back into medicine. So here are the determinants of disease and the metabolic inflammatory process. If you pick out the first letter of each entry, I won't ask you to do that. I'll tell you what it spells out. It spells out nasty malodors. Something which makes Prof. Egger very happy because he thought up most of it. You can see how broad is the lifestyle medicine brush and how impossible it is to even begin the process of discussion with our patients in a 10-minute appointment. So we'll briefly skip through each of the determinants. Nutrition. Overnutrition and undernutrition are two sides of the same coin. Both result in malnutrition. And to complicate matters, we can be metabolically healthy whether we are fat or thin. The FOTI, fat on the outside, thin on the inside, and the TOFI, thin on the outside, fat on the inside, are examples. So there will be a video coming under the nutrition bit at the end, hopefully if there's time, by Professor James McCormick, who's a faculty of pharmaceutical sciences in Vancouver, Canada. It's always good after a little bit of time to stand up and move around, and I hope we get a chance to do that. But Montero defines 3 levels of food and drink. Three food groups. The whole foods, relatively unprocessed, the substances extracted from whole foods, and the ultra-processed foods. So generally speaking, the pro-inflammatory values are being exhibited by modernized foods, and the good anti-inflammatory values from whole foods, to which humans have adapted over millennia. Activity and inactivity. Inactivity or lack of sufficient activity is one of the most underappreciated causes of long-term disease. We don't need to be active these days. Probably the first generation in history, which for some level of activity has not been a daily requirement. And here's why. It's okay to blame us Scots for the 30% reduction in daily energy expenditure. As inventors of the telephone, the television, the refrigerator, probably the remote control button, I don't know. So we are a nation of couch potatoes. I don't think we invented the sofa. I'm pretty sure that was the Ottoman Turks. We know that screen time in children has been strongly associated with overweight and obesity. So the arrival of TV and everything else that came on is important. So we need to think differently, don't we? View movement as an opportunity, not a threat. And today, coming from a different part of London, going up these long escalators, how many people do you see actually walking up? Everybody's standing like this. So here's me, going up, feeling silly. But it's the other way around in Melbourne. If you stand on the wrong side in Melbourne, they'll elbow you out the way. So if there was an intervention that did all this, would you take it?
Yes.
One yes, 2 yeses, 3 yeses. I'm always surprised by the response to this. Quite a few people say no, because I kind of think they're expecting that it's a pill, and everybody's talking about polypills, aren't they? Well, it's physical activity, isn't it? And as we all know, in our offices, we always keep ourselves active. Even when we're outdoor in the office, we keep ourselves active. Now, which egg are you? You don't need to tell me. You can just identify yourself there. Stress, which is endemic to humanity, has more recently become a chronic strain on physiological adaptation. The outcome, as described by Arthur Roach, is a thin stream of fear trickling through the mind. If encouraged, It cuts a channel into which all our other thoughts are drained. And how elegantly put is that? Now, stress, anxiety, depression. Anyone in here recognize the colored bits? Has any of you suffered from anything on those colored bits? We do, don't we? We do. So, as a consequence of this trickle, from this channel, a whole range of long-term diseases are born. Strategies for preventing and dealing with stress are a cornerstone of lifestyle medicine. I suspect we have very individual tales to tell about how we cope with our own problems. But the answer doesn't lie in everybody, or maybe in some people, in a pill. And there was a very powerful presentation at the Lifestyle Medicine Conference in Melbourne in November when Bob Brown, who's an environmentalist in Australia, Tasmanian, gave a very, very powerful presentation. He had been on antidepressants for 10 years, and he admitted at the end of it, made not a blind bit of difference. Something else came along 10 years later, which changed his life. I was going to show this because I thought that picture on the right looked like Tamsin, but she's not here. So now on to technopathology. The technological age of the 20th century has brought with it new challenges, including how to work this, the ill effects of certain forms of modern technology. At extremes, it involves mortality from high-tech warfare, or even transport accidents, to computer-related problems such as impaired vision, repetitive strain injury, neck and back problems, and even skin problems. At any extreme, even improved agricultural technology such as hydroponics is leading to excessive toxicity of recreational drugs. Not that I would know. So, having learned from that, is this what your workstation looks like? Now, inadequate sleep. Along with inactivity, inadequate sleep is one of the most underrated lifestyle risk factors for long-term disease. It's the amount of good sleep that's important, not how long you spend in your bed. Can we get away with using the term lunatic these days? I don't know. But Messerschmitt was an interesting guy. I don't know if you know him, but he's probably a bit older than you'd like to think. 1771. But he was an interesting guy because he looked in the mirrors and then made faces and then cast his head in bronze. So there we are. That's him looking sleepy. Modern lifestyles are often in direct competition with sleep. Arguably, the majority of modern sleep problems have a basis in our lifestyle choices. You may have heard recently that many of our children are chronically sleep deprived, not helped by the quantity of screen time. Additionally, if you suffer a long-term condition, then sleep quality may be affected, creating a bidirectional vicious cycle, a situation commonly encountered in lifestyle medicine. However, with a healthy approach to lifestyle and attention to sleep hygiene, things can improve dramatically. It can improve by this much. It's a very effective birth control method, I think. Environmental influences come from various directions, making unhealthy choices in an obesogenic environment, or being exposed to endocrine disrupting chemicals, pollutants in the air, water, and soil. We are all exposed to these environments, yet we know so little about them. The WHO list of EDCs is a long one, yet very few have been properly evaluated, and the cocktail effect is completely unknown. Nor is the impact of long-term exposure to very small amounts of these toxins. COPD and dementia have recently been in the news as being linked to particulate matter. We know constituents of dermatological products are carcinogenic, and others reduce fertility. Cord blood in babies may contain up to 200 man-made chemicals. It may be a small contributor overall to our risky lives, but one that we really should care about. Then, of course, there's climate change to think about, unless you're Donald Trump, of course. Now, this is just a quickie, but an exciting one. Our microbiome. We're a long way from being able to prove causality, but there is an association between the unhealthy leaky gut and unhealthy immune systems and disordered brain function, the so-called gut-brain axis. A healthy diet will heavily influence our microbiome. Meaninglessness or learned helplessness. Some have suggested that the reason Glasgow has a worse health record than a comparable city in the UK is down to this, possibly due to sustained high cortisol levels as a consequence of intergenerational epigenetic changes. The longevity study from the Western USA, started by Dr. Terman in the 40s and followed up 40 years after his death, and also the Harvard study of adult development, still going after 70 years, concluded that healthy longevity was dependent on having a purpose in life and a strong relationship with someone trustworthy, period. Nothing to do with money, nothing to do with blood pressure, nothing to do with cholesterol, nothing to do with statins. Alienation. The picture on the right, actually, I'll just explain very briefly. If you were a witch, if somebody poked something sharp into you, if you didn't bleed, you were a witch, and you were therefore dealt with accordingly. And the place where I work in Cahenzie House, in East Lothian, the last recorded death as a consequence of being a witch happened there, and that's why I included it. There's an artist who works in it. Anyway, alienation. Here's a quote from, I'm sorry, yet another Glaswegian. I'm from Edinburgh. Why am I quoting Glaswegians? But anyway, Jimmy Reid was the rector of Glasgow University in 1972. He led what was called the Upper Clyde Shipbuilders work-in and took on the government and won Ted Heath's time. I'm not going to read it out because I think it says what alienation really is. Let me, the onset, define what I mean by alienation. It is the cry of men who feel themselves the victims of blind economic forces beyond their control. It's the frustration of ordinary people excluded from the processes of decision-making. It is a feeling of despair and hopelessness that pervades people who feel with justification that they have no real say in shaping or determining their own destinies. I think that is so profound and so right. The loss of culture. The indigenous people of Australia, with 30,000 years of history, are a good, or is it a bad example? Their whole life has been disrupted by incomers to the extent they are now amongst the unhealthiest in their own country. Meanwhile, on the right there, this new arrival on a beach in East Lothian, where I live, is in big trouble, especially if it is female and it wants to play golf at a nearby famous golf course. Any golfers here? No? Well, it's gone over your head in that case. There's a place called Muirfield. Occupation. Occupational status and employment types such as shift work may have direct effects on health and safety, but social factors such as perceived social injustice, burnout, and security of employment play an increasing part. Both physical and psychological occupational environments need to be considered as part of a lifestyle perspective on health, as described by Michael Marmot. He describes high demand and low control, imbalance between effort and rewards, social isolation, organizational injustice, job insecurity, and shift work as a toxic cocktail. I have to say, if this cocktail was indeed endemic in our NHS, we would all worry. Drugs. Cigarettes and recreational drugs have adverse effects. Pharmaceutical products often have ill effects. Iatrogenic deaths are the third on the list of deaths in the US and probably in the UK as well. It is estimated in the UK that up to 1 million people are admitted to hospital each year due to prescribed drugs. The art of lifestyle medicine is to provide a lifestyle approach to health management and deliver optimal health outcomes. Sensible prescribing, deprescribing where possible, and patient engagement in long-term disease management is clearly a logical approach. In one practice alone up in Southport, diabetes has been reversed, patients are coming off medication, and the practice has saved the taxpayer £50,000. It can be done, and it should be done. You'll probably guess that these two slides are Gary Eggers, basically saying alcohol is a social cost as well as a physical one when taken to excess. Over and under exposure. Many lifestyle-related behaviors, such as smoking, have a linear association with ill health. Others have a U-shaped or tick-shaped association. Exposure to certain forms of UV light is a case in point. Too much may be a cancer risk. Too little can result in vitamin D deficiency. And the latter is associated with a host of ailments, probably because it acts more like a hormone than a vitamin. We're seeing children, once again, developing rickets due to sedentary indoor life. Oh dear, there he goes again. Yes, sunlight, asbestos, there's still some around. We know about passive smoking, underexposure to light we mentioned, and of course, everybody needs to have more fun. Now, poor social relationships have been linked with inflammatory processes, probably by association through the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. Loneliness and lack of social support is also an issue, so the NM practitioner may also need to be part relationship counsellor, or at least have referral networks into which to refer. You don't need words for this one. Social inequality or social disadvantage. It is recognized that income inequality and financial employment-related insecurity are established health risks, and absolute poverty appears to be less of a concern than relative poverty. Metabolic inflammation has been shown to play an intermediary role here. As clinicians, should we be acknowledging this more? And how can we in short consultations? So here we are, some useful advice. What did this spell out? Nasty malodors. That's all you have to remember. And to some of the pictures. If you can do that, you've done well. So, it's time to wake up. Everybody awake? I've slightly adapted the US Patient-Centered Outcome Research Institute's key questions for research grant applications. If these questions could be answered at personal level, at community level, at national level, and at global level, then we should be doing or going a long way to achieving the goals of lifestyle medicine and the healthy longevity for the planet's human occupants. Now, I'm going to read them out. Number one, what may happen to me given my personal characteristics, mindset, and social context? 2, what are the benefits or risks of the options available to me, and how can I understand them? 3, what can I do for myself? And 4, what can you, the health provider, do for me? So the fundamental art of lifestyle medicine is to coach, coax, and nudge into healthy behavior, from cell to community to country, or you could say, in this country, from cradle to coffin. So on that cheery note, we have a little bit of music, I hope. Which one is it? That's that one here.
On the scale of 2 hours, my mind's on a glare. We won't spell the deep dish, rising up in the air. Then I thought for an instant, is it wrong, is it right? I can go to steady cracks through them. I had to have one more bite. Then she's good in the doorway. She rang the dinner bell. I was thinking to myself, this could be heaven or this could be hell. Looking in at the Barbie, and she gave me a tray. 5 crosses down the corridor, and I heard her say, why don't you just leave me entering? Such a happy place, all the food is great. Let me think, but if you just leave me entering, it's blue and white, and it's not well defined. I'm a kid and gifted, if I give me the best, the golden lights of money takes the food, think I'm not good. I'll be dancing in the courtyard, screaming so much sweat. The food is just and tender, in the shade of the bed. Since she called up the waiter, please bring us some wine. I've had a good 3 years since 1969, and still those voices are so far away. But wake me up in the middle of the night, and then I hear her say, hey, why don't you just be moderation? Just look up the face, just look up the face, see my reason. It'd be always better if you just be in moderation. As an exercise, if you learn to rise, rich fruits and some veggies, olive oil, fish and rice. And she said, don't choose food like prisoners and beer, based on airborne advice. So in the dining chambers, we gathered for the feast. We made a balanced meal with grains and greens that even had some red meat. He just gives me pleasure, I just coffee and adore. Should I put the sugar packets back and go away myself once more? Relax and right down. When it comes to musicians, who really can you believe?
Thank you very much. You don't have to agree with it all, but from now on, California Hotel, I hope will make this a better training. Thank you very much.
So thank you so much, Dr. Lawson. Really appreciate it for being here and for inspiring us. Thank you, thank you. And yeah, that song is going to be. Oh, I need the other mic. Here we go. I think we're going to continue right away. Now, Dr. Tamsin was supposed to be here, but she had like a kind of a child emergency where she just couldn't make it today. And laryngitis. Here we go. And so what I need to do is make sure I don't pronounce your name wrong. Because it's a beautiful name, difficult to pronounce. Maybe not. Despina Chinopoulou. Beautiful. Here we go.
Mutual friends and
working on a common project. So let me hook you up here.
Yes.
How do we do this? Let's see.
Want to here?
Yeah. Here's good.
Yes. So my first big statement to make to you guys today, and I'll show you a video about this just now, continuing on the inspirational track that we started on, is that I want to become a billionaire. I'll hold it. Yeah. As soon as possible. Yes, billionaire as soon as possible. And that's the new definition of billionaire, which means how do we positively affect 1 billion people in our lifetime? And a favorite media person, Jason Silva, talks about this in one of his clips. So I wanted to start off with that. It's just the YouTube.
Oh, the YouTube. I'm sorry. Here we go.
Oh, beautiful. Thanks. Perfect.
We live in a world of exponential technological advancement, which literally means that we have new construction kits for our reality, new tools with which to probe and adjacent possible. So consider the implications. As Marshall McLuhan used to say, first we build the tools, and then the tools build us. We are designed by what we have designed. There are feedback loops of mind, tool, and world that radically redefine our boundaries, that radically transform what it means to be human. To be human today is to crisscross the sky. To be human today is to create technosocial wormholes, mind-to-mind communications, or run the limits of time, space, and distance. So what do we do? Well, we need to radically reach out to one another in ways we haven't before. There's a great line that says, empathy rarely extends beyond our line of sight. In other words, out of sight is out of mind. But if anything, these wireless communication technologies are radically extending our line of sight. They're providing ontological maps of the real, giving us an astronaut overview of that. We are seeing the big picture. We are seeing the captains of spaceship Earth. And what shall we do? We need to extend our hands to one another. We have the tools to overcome all of the limitations of our humanity. We have the power, we have the will, we have the capacity, the creative capacity to overcome our limits. So today, billions of us linking to one another created the global code, the global brain. What is new definition of billionaire. The new definition of billionaire is he who will positively affect the lives of a billion people. He or she will reach out and say, I will positively affect the lives of a billion people. This should be our goal. This is our responsibility. Here's our chance.
So who wants to be a billionaire? Yay! Do we want to bring it back to your beautiful, yes. No slides today for me because I really wanted this to be an interactive session and have everybody ask questions and be curious and really explore with me. So I'll start off just by saying a little bit about my story and what brings me into the lifestyle functional medicine area, and then how I was lucky enough to find Dr. Tamsin Lewis and start a new practice here in the UK, and kind of leave you with a thought on how important it is as a community that we start showing results in the health area so that people recognize how truly magnificent this type of medicine is. So to start with, right now, today, in the present, I am super healthy, turning 50, being able to do the things I love, hanging out with my family and friends, sailing, skiing, cooking, reading, and having capacity, having strength, having energy, and really being able to be in a career that inspires me and that brings me tons of joy. But I have to say, this wasn't always the case. I was working in IT for 30 whole years with tons of stress, getting on an airplane every week. I was sales for Europe, Middle East, Africa. So one day I was in South Africa, the next day I was in Dubai, the next day in Germany, and it was very overwhelming at times. And I saw for myself that I was having brain fog, my hair was falling out, my nails were getting thinner, and I saw all my colleagues around me just having headaches at work, and I kept encouraging, drink more water, feeling low energy, and I was saying, have some more nuts and seeds, and try to eat more veggies, because that's how I grew up being Greek. We love to eat our fruits and veggies. But I was feeling like I wasn't really doing enough. People would always say to me, your little bits of advice and hint are really helpful, but why am I not getting that from my practitioners? So I constantly thought to myself, what am I to do? I've been in this career 30 years. I'm really good at it. People appreciate me. But I don't think of retirement as a positive, good thing to look forward to. So I decided to retrain. So I was at that time living in Europe. So I came up to London and went to the College of Naturopathic Medicine and became a naturopathic nutritionist. All this while I was working and traveling and doing my crazy day-to-day job. And I loved it so much, and it truly inspired me, that I went then to CNELM and got a master's in personalized nutrition, which really brought all the knowledge together and made me feel that I was really kind of getting there on my new career path. And that college was associated with the Institute for Functional Medicine. So I started reading about them and using my vacation time from IT to go over to the States for those 3-day, 5-day sessions and start learning more about what functional medicine is. So I was super curious about it. And I see it as medicine 2.0, or the new advanced medicine, just like what we've been hearing about today. In the past, from the Greek ancient almost times with Socrates, and they always said, let food be thy medicine. They always looked at how can we eat together in community, how can we eat from the earth. And a lot of this just got forgotten. And what I feel is happening now with lifestyle medicine and functional medicine and integrative medicine is we're creating a new operating system, that how can we put all these parameters together in one place and look at the context of the person and the lifestyle that they're leading and try to personalize a protocol that will help them reach their goals. So as I was going through my functional medicine training, I heard about the Cleveland Clinic and that they were starting a functional medicine arm, and I just walked up to the CEO of IFM, Lori Hoffman, and said, I really want to help you guys out in any way I can. So I left my IT work and went over to America and joined IFM because I wanted to help this movement grow. I was passionate about finding new partners and new organizations that would try to get this message across to various people across the globe. As IFM is a nonprofit and it's a small organization in the US doing training, and they're trying to be global, but they recognized and realized that they need partners and affiliates and different organizations across the globe to help. And as I was doing that, I was seeing more organizations in the US that were trying hard to bring this message in different ways. There was Wellness FX that tried doing blood tests quickly and showing results to people so that they can see if they're deficient in certain vitamins and minerals. I became myself a member of a company called Aravail, which is all about systems biology and trying to, again, look at your genetics together with your blood markers and your stool markers and your hormone saliva markers. And they had a health coach once a month that basically spoke to me about my results and how I could help myself become even more healthy, which was good, but I found that they did the same test for everyone, and they gave up and down the same types of suggestions for people, or so it seemed. It did help me get to a certain point, but I always felt that there could be more. And all these organizations have in common that they talk about 4P medicine, which is preventative and proactive and personalized and participatory. But it's so difficult to bring all those 4Ps into one organization and one program. And that's why I was lucky enough to find Dr. Tamsin Lewis, which has been practicing in the past in the NHS, and she has seen the pros and cons there and been frustrated with just having 10 minutes with her patients, and then creating her own company, Curo7, where she tries to look at specific biomarkers for the patients and give specific protocols. And now, together with myself and other doctors and health coaches and nutritionists, we're creating a fiber health group where we can really look at the 4Ps and look at the context of why the person has these symptoms to begin with, looking at the root cause and creating those personalized plans and working with coaches to help the change happen. Any questions so far? Yes, it's participatory medicine, which means that you and your clinician work together. It's preventative. It is, hold on. Proactive, correct. And preventative and personalized, yeah.
So is the Mediterranean diet the one you are recommending?
I currently am on the Mediterranean diet. I think that we need to look at the person and their lifestyle.
The Mediterranean diet?
I don't think of old school. I think that if it fits your needs and your lifestyle, it depends on whether you're an athlete or you're a stay-at-home mom or if you're flying around the world. Some people require more protein. Some people require more healthy fats. So it's all about looking at your biomarkers and your lifestyle and seeing which diet is really best for you. There is no one size fits all.
Yeah, it's just, I think basically the Mediterranean diet is very cliche and it really doesn't appear and all this high protein, etc. It's full of cholesterol, the diet, and there's not really proof that it's any better. So what I'm saying, the preventive medicine, lifestyle medicine is exactly what we need to have. I think the Mediterranean diet to try to feed people is a little bit something what maybe needs to be worked on.
Yes, so what you're explaining is that it is very important that it is a personalized diet and that we can't always say that one particular diet, like the Mediterranean diet, is the perfect fit for you. We have to look at it in the context of what's going on in your life. Yes. Other questions? Okay. So I guess I will go to the next part here, which is about being results driven. So what I've noticed is that because lifestyle, integrative, and functional medicine is fairly new in our Western world, we do need to start showing results. So what I do recommend to all practitioners out there is to, before you start with your client, either look at a medical symptoms questionnaire or something like a Promise 10, which is a questionnaire that's used in the US with just 10 questions of wellness, where you let them fill that out and see where they stand before coming in and speaking with you. And then whether that is 6 weeks down the line, 2 months down the line, 3 months, 6 months, depending on your engagement with your client, you ask them to do that questionnaire again and see what was the before and the after, because we need to start looking statistically how this medicine is really creating results. And that is something that the Cleveland Clinic is doing right now. They started from a very small functional medicine arm, and now they have a whole wing. They're using these types of analysis to see changes in people's health, and as a result, they're seeing how wellness is going up and the cost of care is going down. So once we start having the statistics around us where we see the results happening, then we can go out there and prove that this model works, which is super important. So I urge you all to do that in your practices in any way you can.
You work with Dr. Esselstyn in Cleveland Clinic?
I haven't personally worked with him, no.
Is he part of your project?
No, not right now. Yes?
I've got a naturopathic background, so we always look at treating the whole person, not just the symptom or the disease they come with. Because a lot of the time with conventional medicine, you treat the symptom or whatever the disease is the disease picture. But one of the things we were taught was always to treat the person with the disease, not the disease.
Very good point. Treat the person with the disease and not the disease. Yes. Agree, 100%.
Even though you ask them about symptoms, you wouldn't just focus on that. You focus on
Yes, the whole picture is very important. And that is one tool that we use in functional medicine. We have something called a timeline and a matrix. With the timeline, we look from birth. Did the person go through a normal childbirth? Were they C-section? Did they get breastfed? This changes their immunity. And as time goes, we see, did they have infections as kid, and ear infection all the time? Did they move a lot to different locations? Maybe when they were a college student, they were exposed to mold in some type of dorm or go through a traumatic event. We write that all in the timeline, and we look at the symptoms as they appear, because the symptoms are telling us some type of story. And then we, together with the client, tell the story of the client to the client, and that jogs their memory, and they all of a sudden say, oh, wow, yeah, my parents used to smoke when I was little, and I just remembered how that made me cough all the time. And you get more of what we call the antecedents, the triggers, the mediators. The antecedents are, what's in your family history, taking a deep family history. What are the type of ailments your family was predisposed to? The triggers are some type of stress event, or maybe, something happened like a short stop in a car that really startled you when you were little. Different triggers can bring on certain health symptoms in your life. And then the mediators. Some people think that smoking is okay for them, but it's not. If you smoke for a long time, it's a mediator that keeps nutrients from being absorbed and causing a lot of imbalances in the body. So we look at all these antecedents, triggers, and mediators. We look at the timeline, and then we put that all together in something called a matrix, which gives us where the priority needs to be. If a lot of the areas that are showing up are immune oriented because the person has constant colds and flus and is constantly feeling unwell, or gastrointestinal oriented, we look at where is the most important area to start with, because we need to get our patients to see results quickly and start feeling better and alleviating those symptoms as quickly as possible so that they can continue on their journey. And we do that by having the collaborative care team of nutritionists and coaches to call every week and have that accountability. Were you able to shop for the right things this week? Did you have difficulty cooking some of these new recipes? How's your society and your surroundings helping you fit this new lifestyle into your everyday life? So we talk to them about their challenges and give them tips and ideas on how they can overcome them by planning correctly. So bringing our clients along on this journey is super important. And for everyone, it's a different point where they get stuck. So we need to really be on target with the context of where they're at, what they want to achieve, and how to help them get there step by step. Any other questions? Okay. Well, then I guess I want to leave you with, you are our practitioners of the future. And if not you, who? And if not now, when? So let's go out there and make people well. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you so much, Espina. Wonderful to share about functional medicine, and I think that is part of the issues, right? There is functional medicine, integrative medicine, lifestyle medicine, and the same with nutrition, as you said, right? We get often confused that there's so many options out there, and then especially our clients, they don't know which one to go, because especially if they search the internet, which I think over the last weeks and months, the term fake news, we've heard that a lot, right? Anyways, so what I'd like to do, have a break, like about half an hour. Now, the cafeteria is where you came in at the entrance. Who knows where it is? Follow the ones that have their hands up. It's probably the easiest way. It's by the entrance on the left, downstairs. Right. So I guess we meet at the cafeteria and we start communicating, talk, have a little refreshment, and then we come back in about half an hour, okay? Let's make it exactly half an hour. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. And for everybody on the live stream, we're going to be back in a half an hour, okay? See you soon.